Hello, Jeff Helvin here with Ballen Brands, and today we're going to talk about how website speed and performance shapes the experience for your real estate website. So one of the things that is often overlooked is we spend so much time focusing on putting all these features in place and having these beautiful images or videos or really just the overall aesthetic or image of a site. And that's really only one component. Of course, we want it to look good. We want your brand to be properly represented, right? But we have to remember what the visitor is here for our website to do. And we want to make a good first impression. And your website speed is the first, most critical first impression. If somebody goes to your website and it doesn't load right away, it's trying to load maybe a large video file in the header, or we've got too many elements on the page, whether it be too many dynamic elements on the page. That can really slow down the overall performance, but most of all, really just where the website's hosted. Is it hosted on the right kind of servers? Are those servers actually optimized for your website? Now, we build WordPress websites, and we've actually have our own managed dedicated servers through one of the most highly reviewed companies out there. So we do that, right? We make sure that our clients are on these servers. So we have dedicated servers that are committed to our particular clients, that we are able to designate the resources and make sure that everything is running smoothly. And on top of that, we are focusing our websites that we build on the functionality for what the visitors are here for. So we need to make sure that these pages are optimized and not overloaded with too much stuff. Now, here's my homepage. I'm a real estate agent in Las Vegas, Henderson, North Las Vegas, out in Boulder City as well. And this is my real estate website page. So if I go to the page, it loads quickly. We want to make sure that header's in there loading. We want to make sure the navigation's right away. People will start to scroll down. So we want to make sure that this is already in place for them. I have a featured property through my IDX. I have a few featured locations. We make sure these images are optimized. We have all of these components that are, just enough. It's enough to get people invested, but it's not too much to where it's chugging here and people are waiting for things to load. So sometimes we see on websites where there's a lot of elements that are flashing coming in. That's a cool look, but I have to wait sometimes for these things to happen, right? So we don't want to overdo it there. There's a lot here on this homepage, but it loads quickly because we're not overwhelming the browser or the computer or your phone with too much information to load all at the same time. So that structure is important, but again, the service behind it. Our servers are primed for PHP calls and how this code comes together to make these websites work. And those are things you wouldn't understand, of course, if you're not in the hosting business. So it doesn't necessarily make sense to even ask those questions for you, but that's something that you want to pay attention to for sure. Now, also going from page to page, if I click on buying, if I click on selling, if I click on lifestyle, right? We want to make sure that these pages are coming quickly. So these consistent elements that are already here in the header have already loaded, so they're quick. These here, again, are not overwhelming. We don't have so much happening on the page that it can't load, right? That it's too slow. So this affects the way people search for homes, right? If things are too take too long, or if I'm trying to do a search and it's not loading, these are all things that are going to play a role in whether or not you might potentially get that lead. It affects how long visitors stay, and how long visitors stay is another thing. How many pages they click on and how long they stay on the website affects your overall domain authority, your SEO, the AEO for the ask engines. All of that as part of this comes back down to speed and performance. And that's not to mention just overall professionalism, right? I mean, if I go to a website that's loading slow and I'm not able to get the information I need, that's a bad impression, right? Not only a first impression, but just an overall view of maybe how your company is perceived if it's not, fast, right? If it's fast and things are loading quickly and you're providing that information, that has a great image. That gives a good image and a good feeling to your brand for that website visitor. And as I mentioned again, this is all part of search results. If someone goes to Google and they type something in, Google's not ranking the websites that are not loading fast, right? It's ranking those websites that are loading faster, but it's also ranking because the visitors stay longer, they take more actions. These are all those positive indicators, and naturally all of that is what's meant to help lead to generating more contacts, right? More leads from the website. So we have to make sure everything's running quick and going fast. So again, that's important. Don't overlook that. Sites can be pretty, if you're using a third-party website, like a paid-for site or a brokerage site or any of those types of things, where you're basically renting a system from someone else, and those pages aren't loading quickly. You can't move, right? You can't change your service. You can't change the way the page loads. You can't, these are all, these all-in-one platforms that are out there. Sometimes they're very limited to just what they're able to do. So you're not able to choose a different host. Even if you host with us, there might come a point where on your website you're generating so much traffic and so many leads that you need your own service, right? We can help assist with that as well, where you're on your own server, nobody else is on it, all the resources are dedicated to you. Of course, that gets more costly, so it's not necessarily what everybody needs, but that's why we are so focused and why we do pay so much attention to making sure that everything here is done correctly. Now, it's not just that, the server speed and the performance, of course, that's the core, that's the baseline. But when you host with us as well, we're also doing what we call monthly maintenance. So we are also on your website, logging into your admin, updating plugins, updating your themes, making sure all of these things are being taken care of, because quite frankly, so many of us don't have time to go log into our site and do this stuff. We have our phones that need updated, right? A lot of times those update automatically overnight, so that's great. We have our computers that need updated. If you're like me, sometimes you wait a week or two before they're updated because you've got so many things that you're already working on, right? But software, technology, all of these things need updates, but it affects the performance. Okay, so that's what's important. We have to remember that speed and performance. Where your website's hosted, are the servers, geared to give the best output for your visitors? Is the website structured in a way that's going to load quickly and give those end results? And do you have that backup support to make sure that the plugins and themes and everything else are updated? So keep that in mind. Speed and performance, super important when it comes to your online visibility, your ability to generate leads, your brand recognition, really just about anything. It's the core and the base function of anything you're doing online with your website, so don't overlook that. If you have any questions on this or anything else, by all means, you can always reach out to us at team@ballenbrands.com.